Hey everyone, Jackie here. Welcome back to my channel. So I'm going to be talking about this full moon in Cancer that's coming up the 29th, 30th, depending on where you live, ending of the month, ending of the year. And for it to happen in very watery Cancer, just something for us to talk about. I think this is going to actually be pretty good for the collective. So what I'm first going to do is I'm going to give a lay of the land of what is even going on here, and then I'm going to break it out into signs. And we know a lot of you, especially those Geminis, no shade, I'm a Gemini sun. I get it. You want to jump right to your sign. I get that. Now, that's fine. I don't care. Really, whatever you want to do. But hopefully this first few minutes is going to be able to contextualize everything as a collective. All right. And also, if you're not really sure of your house placement, wholly so, you might want to just listen to this in the kind of lead in. So what's going on here? There's definitely going to be a heightened sense of emotions bubbling under this energy right now, right? Because Cancer's that water sign. Cancer's all about the fourth house of home. It's our safety, grounded, feeling rooted, safe, secure. It's our parents, especially our mother. Although I do believe in the modern understanding of it that it's kind of parents. Fourth house is also the stories that we tell ourselves, particularly about our past, about where we come come from. And it works opposite the 10th house, which is the house of career or marriage, right? Not meaning not your relationship marriage, but the institution of marriage, right? It's basically your public reputation and your standing in the world. So that's basically like kind of like going to be the star of the show, right? So obviously it's sort of going to be like Cancer, and then Capricorn's going to be opposing that. So we'll be feeling a lot of these emotions going. I'm going to explain what this means as we go along. And all the signs are going to be feeling it highlighted in a different area depending on what your rising sign is. So I'm going to be discussing that in a minute. But first, let's just talk about, what are we going to be feeling? So we're definitely going to be feeling this energy for up to 2 weeks, up to this January 10th new moon that's coming up. I'm going to do a separate video on that, but we're going to be feeling this energy sort of like it's like very much going to be kind of rolling out. It's because it's still working in combination with that solar eclipse that we had on the 14th. So a lot of things are going to be coming to light, a lot of realizations about what makes us feel safe, secure. Where do we feel that metaphorical sweet spot? Where do we feel at home? Where do we not feel at home, right? I mean, and so all of these things are just going to be sort of bubbling underneath the surface because it's a moon energy, and the moon is all about what's bubbling underneath the surface. But there's this natural opposition when we have a full moon with the sun, right? So it's like wherever the sun is, it's like, kind of like shining this very bright light on this particular area. So anything fourth house related, as I mentioned, we're going to be feeling it generally as a collective. And then a little more specifically, additionally, depending on where our rising sign is. So we're going to be feeling a lot of the rollout of the initiative that we started to feel with that the solar eclipse that happened a couple of weeks ago. Now, this full moon may very well create a feeling that whatever sort of emotional weight you might be carrying around, any kind of emotional weight may feel extra heavy. And in this heaviness is kind of like a very true 10 of Wands moment. I don't want you to, that sounds negative, but it's not. The 10 of Wands, it's like, I can't do this anymore. It's just heavy. I don't want to, it's going to feel very heavy. Kind of all of us are going to be feeling this. And I realize this sounds a little bit intense, but I don't want you to look at it like that, because it's actually more of like a cleansing, more of a cleansing. I want you to look at it like that. And freeing, right? As something that's kind of been stuck on our soul, like gum on the bottom of our shoe, having to do with a certain fourth house matter, is going to kind of rise to the surface. So again, with the sun opposite the moon, this brings our home, our family, intimate relationships into a sharper focus for the following 2 weeks of this moon phase. Opposing forces such as like work versus home, or what you need versus what you want, what makes you feel safe, what makes you not feel safe, creates this inner tension and external pressures. So this can lead to conflict and crisis that can end up draining your energy. So it's very common when the full moon hits for us to all feel very, very tired. I actually think Cancers and even Geminis, and I'll explain in a few minutes why Geminis will be feeling a little extra tired, right? But that's okay. I mean, it's just, so just take a rest if you can. The moon qualities of emotions and instinct reach their peak at a full moon, right? You have to understand, like, everything kind of boils up. So your increased emotional strength and intuition to overcome any sort of relationship issues, any sort of challenges that you've been dealing with, and what makes you feel safe and secure, and really tap into your ability Very easily, I think, because of what's the positioning of a very aggressive, I want to say Venus, which I actually think is going to actually be a good thing. Oh, sorry about that. I don't know why that keeps happening here. A really good thing. So I like that. Okay. You're going to be tapping into what it is that you want, need, and desire. Subconscious awareness is all about the moon, right? So this allows for an impartial, balanced look at all of your personal relationships in these areas. And I think there's going to be a lot of healing going on for a lot of us at the end of this year, which I really like. You're going to very clearly see any like relationship dynamics or negative feelings causing disharmony, any kind of imbalance, or just whatever might be going on that doesn't make you feel good within a connection. Now, this doesn't only mean your intimate relationships, because it's ridiculous. Not everybody's in an intimate relationship. This is also having to do with obviously your parents, people you live with. For a lot of you, it's just going to be family stuff. Others of you, maybe roommate stuff going on. It might not have anything to do with your actual physical home. It just might be, you really looking at how at home do you feel in your own skin and in your own life. And are you really liking the vibe of where you are right now? Really is about that. Cancer's ruled by the moon. So as the moon returns to its favorite spot, because it's ruled by the moon, right? In the sky, it's going to be able to really express its powers to the fullest, which I think is really good. So if you feel an echoing, I'm kind of calling it like an echoing, let it go, just let it go, let it go. If you feel that energy, you are exactly where you're supposed to be. Just like let go of that negative mindset, let go of that relationship, let go of that fill in the blank, whatever it is. But a lot of you guys are just going to be like, I can't do that anymore. It just doesn't serve me, whatever it is. It's going to be different for each of you. And we're all being called within for some kind of loving observation. Most of us will feel called to rest. So again, just don't be surprised if you are feeling a little extra tired, again, especially cancers. And I'm saying, I think even Geminis. But just do whatever you have to do to sort of recoup yourself. Don't burn the candle at both ends. Not a good energy to do that right under this kind of moon. But again, I do want to mention, with Cancer being about safety, security, all of that, Cancer is the fourth sign of the zodiac, right? So those of you who know the cards, 2020 is also a number 4 year in numerology. Those of you who know numerology. But I want to segue that, kind of make the connection with tarot, as the number 4 represents the idea of home, 4 of wands, security, 4 of pentacles, right? Keeping your pentacles nice and safe, right? Being very concerned about your overall security. 4 of cups. 4 of cups, a lot of times it's the false narratives that we might tell ourselves about why something isn't working or something didn't work in our life, right? We're all victim of that. We're all subject to that, I should say. And also the 4 of swords, which is resting and retreating while reconsidering what we might need to release, right? In order to bring us happiness, right? If you think about it, because it's a Jupiter and Libra energy, right? So all of these fours, I think is very telling. So I just kind of wanted to work that in, because it really does represent the heart of who we are and feeling at home within ourselves. And I think that this is just something to be very mindful of as we sort of end this year, because most of us have spent so much more time at home this year. What has this shown us? What have we discovered along the way? Chiron, the wounded healer who just went direct to still in Aries, is also very active in a very active square with Mars under this particular full moon. And it supports the idea of allowing unsettled things to settle rather than trying to interfere or fix things. Because while he was retrograde, we were all already looking at our stuff, areas of life that needed to be healed. Most of us did feel it. It was pretty strong as it started. I think I did a video, I think in August about that. So it was like from August to the middle of December, Chiron was retrograde. Very good for healing, very good for making us look at stuff, which I think is really good. And kind of like an energy, we're going to be feeling the shift in your path and whatever that means to you. It's going to become clear. And the way to release any pain that's still sort of harboring or stuck, right, will become clear. Things will become so obvious that the only way to really avoid what really needs to happen is by strategically putting your head in the sand. And I don't think anyone watching my channel does that. I want to think, right? Because you guys are so smart and you're very open to understanding and learning about yourself. So if you feel yourself tempted to say, I'm not going to look at that now, I don't want to deal with that now, try to face it anyway. Anything that feels a little sticky and icky, look at it anyway. Because under this final full moon of 2020, Chiron works with the energies to really remind us that we don't need to prove ourselves to anyone, and that compromise is a two-way street, and whomever or whatever isn't on board with our basic truth, we need to transition away from them because we're worth it. And we're really seeing that as a collective, that we're worth it. Not every relationship is meant to stay forever. Not every job, not every opportunity, not every mindset, not every way of thinking is meant to hang with us forever, right? So we don't need to hold the weight of the world on our shoulders. We don't need to try. We could just be in this energy. So really think about, like, where are you overextending or overreaching in your life? And where are you burning the candle too fast or too strong? Where are you trying too hard in your life? You really need to look at that right now, because that, chances are, that needs a little adjusting. And it typically does indicate, anyway, in my mind, it can indicate our insecurities, and where we care too much can indicate something deeper that may be worthwhile exploring underneath this beautiful lunation of this full moon. But the Cancer full moon is also in a harmonious sextile to Uranus, and I'm going to be mentioning this, how it's going to be playing out for each of the signs when I get to those, indicating that we may receive some rewards or culmination of our efforts, or experience some very stimulating, surprising encounters. Because, right, Uranus is about shocking surprises. Uranus is the revolutionary, but it's not just surprises. It's surprises that definitely affect how we're moving forward into the future, if that makes sense. So I do really like this, regardless of where we're having it. We're all kind of set for some good, surprising, either change of mind, surprising healing of relationships, some surprises. So the spiritual meaning of the full moon, in astrology, this particular full moon especially relates to welcoming change and freedom and intuition and excitement, lowering of inhibitions, right? And a greater personal freedom, just being more comfortable to be who we are, and just sort of being more comfortable to say the hell with it. The hell with them, the hell with it, whatever, and just really being more comfortable, probably than ever, to be the most authentic and truest versions of ourselves, which I really like. I really like, and this is a really good moon, just because, again, the moon, this Cancer, has to do with the home. Something new in your domestic routine or personal life is definitely definitely benefic right now. Intuition is going to be turned up, right? Water signs are very intuitive. So acute intuitions, flashes of insight can guide you in making quick decisions on which way to go. If any of you are in a space of feeling like, I could see it, but I really don't know where I'm supposed to put my foot next. So just follow your instincts here. Make the most of any opportunities that come your way. And chance encounters, not so chance encounters, I don't really believe in whatever, may lead to an instant attraction for many of you who are looking to open yourselves up to new romantic partnerships, new friendships, new opportunities. Really nice. The only thing is, your mood may be changeable, and some of your behaviors might be a little out of the norm than what you're typically used to right now, but you should feel comfortable expressing that unique side of your personality, and really embracing that what you feel is true to you, and it doesn't have to really be true to anybody else. And I'm not saying to be you know, like malicious or unconscionable or difficult or challenging in any way. I'm just saying that there's nothing wrong with owning your own truth, right? You don't have to, again, this is not an energy that's going to be pushing you to carry the weight of everybody else's world on your shoulders, right? Great energy to break bad old habits, replace them with something new or someone new. Definitely, depending on where Uranus is triggering in your chart, but this does indicate definitely something really good coming in. Maybe these can come in the way of an actual tangible gift, guys, but maybe not so tangible too, right? I mean, it could just be realizing something, realizing how much we've grown, realizing, and a lot of people are feeling that this year, right? I mean, COVID, with all of, like, it's, obvious stuff that we don't need to go into that could have been very challenging on many, many levels. I know a lot of people were able to, a lot of people email me saying they feel like they finally got to know themselves for the first time, or they feel brave enough to really look at their stuff, or so in many ways it was very, very positive, on a very deeply personal and interpersonal level. And in the same way, a lot of people are realizing, like, whoa, I'm in the most unhealthy thing ever, and I need to get the hell out of here. What am I doing? Which is positive, really, right? If you look at the overall trajectory of your life. So, because a lot of times we measure our productivity based on the concrete things that we achieve, right? And we can't always do that, because a lot of times the best things that we achieve are not so concrete. So what else with this full moon? It's going to light the path for a new year. It's going to call for us to let go of all that's weighing us down, all of that, anything that just doesn't belong anywhere. Excellent time for leaving your comfort zone, doing a lot of stuff that you would normally never do. I know a lot of people are going to be doing that. Virgos, wow, you guys are going to be stretching yourselves like nobody's business this year, having to do with your career. You're just going to be taking chances. Capricorn, in relationships and in money. Sagittarius, same thing. I mean, I just feel a lot of you guys are just going to be doing stuff that you have not felt. Brave sounds so juvenile, like you brave, but it kind of is like things that were holding you back, right? They're just not going to be, there's going to be a softening of it. I'm not going to say it's going to be like, okay, bye, whatever, easy, easy peasy. There's going to be a softening and a support in many areas of our lives, which is really nice. So I do like this, and I feel like it's definitely starting now. And it's such a cool energy, I feel like, to kick off 2021 for sure. I just do. So listen, if you're feeling a lot of stuff, everybody is in a different space right now. Some of you guys are doing fantastic right now. Other you guys are in exceedingly challenging situations. So my advice here, allow the waves to crash and fall around you, and allow the waves of emotions to rise up and wash through you instead of over you. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, we don't want to let anything wash over us, because then we could easily get sucked away. We want to allow any emotions that we're experienced to wash through us, okay, instead of over, so that any of the negativity can just be washed right back out to the sea. I mean, and it's a metaphor that I actually use very often when I meditate. It really is this sort of, exchanging of energy, this washing in and washing through and out and giving back over to wherever the hell it came from. I'm really focusing on bringing in positive energies. Now, a fun fact I wanted to mention was the full moon. The full moon December 2020 here in Cancer is actually in the constellation of Gemini, which is why I was mentioning I feel like Geminis are going to be feeling this one pretty profoundly as well. So this discrepancy is due to the precession of equinoxes, which has moved the sun sign almost a whole sign out of alignment with the constellations from which they were named over 2,000 years ago or so. So Gemini is going to be feeling this quite strong. Those of you who know a lot about astrology, you know about your progress charts. Those of you who I work with privately, I do a lot of the progressions with you, where it's a forward movement from the day you were born to get a better, clearer picture of where you're at right now. So it's kind of like that. I don't want to get too technical, but it's just kind of an interesting, like, little fun fact. And just to let you know that those of you who are Geminis, Sun, Moon, Rising, and Venus may be feeling this a little stronger. So the full moon dates. So if you live in New York, it's December 29th at 10:28 p.m. If you live in LA, December 29th, 7:28 p.m. London, December 30th. That's what I said, like, depends on where you live, 3:28 a.m. Delhi, December 30th, 8:58 a.m. Sydney, Australia. I have a lot of you guys from down under, I know, on my channel. December 30th, 2:28 p.m. So just so you know when it's going to be hitting. So now I'm going to break it out into our signs, all of our individual signs. Let me just take a sip of water. And I did not purposely match my cup to my shirt and my nails, but it worked out that way. All right, let's start with our Aries brothers and sisters. All right. So let's first talk about this full moon hitting your fourth house. So what does that mean? Fourth house, it's right there. It's hitting your fourth house. What's Cancer rule? The fourth house. So something is going to be illuminated in that fourth house that needs looking at. Where is the sun sitting? In the 10th house. So it's a natural opposition. So there are a few ways that this can manifest, right? The obvious interpretation is some kind of tension between home and career, such as perhaps changing the way you work at home or making changes in where you live for the sake of your career. For some, this can be moving out of your home because of a divorce, or if you are, some sort of serious relationship has happened, or even if maybe if you're still even living with your parents or with roommates, that could certainly be happening. Maybe selling your home because of some sort of other personal reason. um, Maybe some of you may be needing to move or sell your home because of your career. Remember, the 10th house, right, which works opposite, is not only career, but it's also, the institution of marriage, your public reputation, your standing in the world, right, which is why changes in marital status can be seen here. Now, a sextile to Uranus in the second can mean successfully working from home. So it's beautiful, like something surprising is going to be coming in. This Uranus gift from the seventh, second house of, it's things that you value, so it's resources, it's money, but your self-respect and sense of self-worth is also in the second house. It's anything that you value. So you're going to be getting a surprise right here. So again, so this could mean all of a sudden you get this job offer where you're able to make money from home, or whatever possible financial transaction might be going on regarding your home can be very beneficial. Anything like, selling or anything like that, any sort of squaring up having to do with any sort of other relationship. For many of you, this can manifest as suddenly realizing how much you value your home, value your family, and you experience a sense of security and groundedness that you haven't felt in a while. It's going to be different for each of you. So we kind of give what I call like the weather, and then you figure out how it's connecting in your life. This full moon is also making a trine to Neptune in the 12th, which can have some of you feeling really, really dreamy about a new home or a new situation going in, or about your new home. Maybe feeling very creative about doing something in your home. You might be really dreaming or fantasizing about moving homes. Others can be realizing that what they experience in their home could just be like super confusing as well, right? Because as I always say with Neptune, Neptune is about dreams. It rules the 12th house, right? Which is, the 12th house is the house of self-undoing, right? It's where our self-sabotaging behaviors hang out, but it's also where we dream, where the veil is very thin between the 3D and our spirituality and the other side. It's also such a beautiful, compassionate energy, though, at the same time, but it's confusing. Neptune is very confusing. It's like sort of smoke and mirrors. It's sort of like trying to look at reality through a thick fog. So that you have Neptune in the 12th, it's in a beautiful place in connection with this full moon, but you might be kind of confused about, what do you really want anyway? What are your dreams, right? But you do want to be careful, because this is a breeding ground for where self-sabotaging behaviors do hang out. So you do want to be careful to not overindulge, over drink, party too much, or try to lose yourself in anything unhealthy. Um, and this is it is this trine is going to be very helpful in helping you to realize what's healthy versus what's not, in order for you to feel fully grounded, safe, and secure. Now, the challenge can be the square to Chiron and Mars in the first, with Venus quincunxing in the ninth. But it's also, Venus is also going to be squaring this Neptune. So what I like, this is going to create a feeling or a need to reason something out that's been troubling you regarding the reality of how you see your home, family, the need to connect to this part of your life compared to your soul's understanding of how you think it should be, right? So a lot of you guys are going to be feeling that home or family situation, healing within you that feels like, for some of you, you might be calling it a compromise. You might need to compromise in the area of home. For others of you, it could be the legal elements of a divorce or a lawsuit, just knowing maybe something's reached its expiration date. For many of you, this can be a decision to move to another city or country. because that's what it means. It's because it's in Sagittarius. But whatever it is, something needs to be adjusted between your fourth house of home and your ninth house of beliefs, traditions, lawsuits, or moving abroad. Venus is going to be there to help. All right. So that's what we have for our Aries friend. So I hope that was helpful in some way. Thank you, Aries. Okay, Taurus. Hello, Taurus. All right, so we have this Cancer full moon in your third house, which is all about communication, siblings, your neighborhood, learning. But when I say communications, all kinds of communication. So written, online stuff, social media, anything like that. Short distance travel as well. And this is put in direct opposition with the sun in the ninth house, which is all about higher education, belief system, lawsuits, but it's a culmination of something. So some of you might be like, maybe graduating or maybe getting some sort of honorary something from some sort of higher education institution, or something going really positively regarding a lawsuit, could be something like that. Something really positive going on with a sibling. Maybe you have very positive communication having to do with something having to do with a sibling, or maybe you haven't been, or you're coming to sort of an understanding with a sibling. Could certainly be that. And it could be person to person, could be an online situation also, but anything having to do with any of those areas, those third house things are going to be looked at. Do any changes need to be made in this area? If things have come to fruition in any of these areas, or reached a culmination, a boiling point, now what? We have a very positive sextile for you guys going on with Uranus in the first house, which can bring an epiphany, a sudden positive realization coming from you regarding this part of your life, realizing like, oh my gosh, like I see it now. I see what I want for myself. Some sort of gift, some sort of shocking change. So for some of you, you might be in this space where it's like, I want to get a new haircut. I want to get a new wardrobe. I want to maybe get some plastic surgery, whatever you're into. Out of nowhere, you're getting like just washed over you. I want to go on a diet. I want to lose weight. I want to reach out to that person because I haven't reached out to them. I want to handle that relationship different. You know what I'm saying? It's because it's the first house itself covers, so many things. Now, also influencing you is a trine to Neptune in your 11th house, which is your house of friends, gains, goals, and wishes. So this is a really harmonious flow between you and others. What you're learning right now, which can help you to feel very optimistic about what you're transitioning into, as a lot of you guys are. There's going to be a lot of positive changes having to do with work for you this year, Taurus. So that's really good. Now, the challenge you might run into in this full moon squaring Mars and Chiron in your 12th with Venus quincunxing your 8th, there could be some kind of, if there is some kind of lawsuit or anything involving money from there can just be some tension. So all square means is tension, right? But Venus will make it less stressful, I feel like, and is really going to be pushing you to actually take care of a situation, and it's going to lean in your favor. So what you wish for in your 12th house of the subconscious is in harmonious flow with the 8th of other people's money, intimacy, how you're able to show up as a we instead of just a me energy. So I think that this is so positive for you, especially for those of you who are in the space of like, what are you thinking in your subconscious mind, how you want that um relationship to go, as far as intimacy, that lawsuit to end up, whatever it is that you kind of envisioning in your mind's eye, wherever it is that you're showing up as a we, that business partnership, there is this absolute manifestation of it that's very supported with this full moon energy. It's just that like it's not only the full moon, it's the dynamic of everything else going on. Okay, so that's what we have for you, our Taurus friends. Now on to Gemini. Okay, so Gemini, this Cancer full moon is happening in your second house with the illumination coming from the sun in the 8th house. So the second house has to do with money, things of value, the roof over your head, the food you put in your mouth, your self-esteem. These are all things that we value, right? And the light's coming from the 8th house, which is other people's money, intimacy in our private relationships, how we show up as a we in partnerships, right? So there's definitely this working out, I feel like, of some sort of financial situation between you and other, or at least a realization of that. Okay. So that's like the full moon. Now, this is going to be sextiling Uranus in the 12th. And the 12th of this is the subconscious. So the surprise is going to be coming from this 12th house of suddenly out of nowhere, you're going to feel like either very, very giving, very empathetic. You're going to feel very, but you're going to feel rather confused at the same time, having to do with whatever it is that's happening between the second and eighth house. It's a confusion, but there's a softening of it. The reason I'm saying a softening because there is this trine to Neptune in the 10th. And the trines and sextiles are very nice energies. They're very cooperative, they're very harmonious. Even though, Neptune, Uranus is all about shocking, things shocking. We have this trine with Neptune as well. Neptune is about trying to look at reality through a thick fog, right? Now, we do have this squaring Venus in the seventh. So Venus in the seventh in this energy, so there could be some confusion having to do with a relationship that you're involved in, a business partnership, a close friendship, or a close family connection. Absolutely. But we have this trine, right, within the 10th, which has to do with not only our career, it has to do with our career. It also has to do with the status of our marriage, it's our public reputation. So what's shocking epiphanies in our subconscious are going to be hitting us, and we're not going to be able to see our career very clearly right now, but we know that we feel change coming. We feel the change. We could smell the change. We have Chiron and Mars in the 11th squaring this full moon, and it's quincunxing Venus in the 7th. So what does that mean? 11th house again is your goals and wishes. So it's like you're having this new sense of awareness with how the dynamic of your marriage or the dynamic of your career or your partnership, and you're feeling the change. You know it's happening. Now, I like Chiron hanging out with Mars a lot because Chiron is the wounded healer, and Mars is like, come on, let's go. It's like, all right, come on, let's go. But we're gonna push forward in a way that's gonna actually help you be on the path that you're meant to be on. And to have it in there, I like that it's quincunxing Venus in the seventh, because a quincunx simply means you can't ignore the energy between these two things. So what's going on in your marriage or that serious partnership, and what's going on in your goals? You have to reason these things out right now, and you have all the energy that you need at the end of the month is going to be there to support this. Now, because Mercury is making such a fabulous supportive it has such fabulous supportive energy to Venus right now, really good communication is going to be going on. So I just see a lot of problem solving, Gemini, for you guys, lots of nice problem solving. And for those of you, eighth house, because it has to do with intimacy, it's a very deep relationship house, a lot of beautiful healing in relationships for a lot of Geminis, whether that means finalizing that divorce for healing or whether it means reconciling. There's a softening of whatever the exchange of whatever is happening there. I like it. It looks good. All right, Gemini. So that's what we have for you guys for the end of the month. Now let's go on to Cancer. So Cancer, the full moon is happening in your first house, and it's the illumination of the sun. The natural opposition is coming from the seventh house of marriage, of partnerships, of deep soul connections. That could even be like a really good friend or family connection. So that's where this sort of rising to the top to be looked at, released, or what have you, is going to be in your first house of self. So there's going to be a lot of energy that's focused on this. Now we have this Uranus sextiling the 11th house. We have Neptune trining from the 9th house, squaring Venus in the 6th. What does all of this mean? When I look at all of these energies for you, Cancer, what I say, there's going to be a lot of redressing as far as, to me, for a lot of you, about what you want to do in the overall trajectory of your life. And I know that sounds kind of like big, but I feel like it has a lot to do with career and a lot to do with relationships as well. business partnerships, very close family and friend connections, as well as marriage level partnerships too. And why do I say that? We have this beautiful sextile and trine happening with Uranus and Neptune. These are very harmonious. Uranus is about shocking surprises coming in that 11th house. First of all, a lot of you might be in for some surprising gains, right? Because 11th house is the house of gains through people and groups that we're associated with. It also has to do with attaining gains because of something that we've been working really hard on, right? 11th house has to do with our goals and wishes. So we do like something surprising is going to come in there. Something surprising, some sort of surprising gift is going to be coming in as well, where suddenly you're going to be able to see where you're going, right? As far as your goals go and the overall trajectory. Now that it's trining Neptune in the 9th house, which is squaring Venus in the 6th. Venus is in the 6th house of your day-to-day work environment. Venus in the 6th is also hanging out with your mental, physical, and emotional health. So you're really looking at how do you feel doing what you do? And Neptune in the 9th house is all about your belief system. So you're in this very sort of transitory time as far as reconfiguring your belief system about what it is that you want to do with your day to day, reconfiguring how you want to feel in your day to day, where you're going. And that's a big energy. But the fact that Mercury is so positively aspected with Venus, communication is going to go really, really well, having to do with any business related ventures that you're doing. Communication is going to go really well, having to do with clearing the air with that 7th house partnership. So whether it's your marriage partner, your serious partnership, that maybe some healing is going to happen with a close friend or some sort of family connection. So I see there being a lot of healing here, right? And so I think that's really good. That's what we have for you, Cancer. Okay, see you guys next time. Now for our Leo brother and sisters, we have the Cancer full moon in, it's hitting your 12th house and your 6th house. So let me just give you the transits. Then I'm going to sort of give you a holistic vibe. I think this is the best way for me to do it rather than because not everybody knows everything about astrology. So we have the full moon is happening in the 12th house, which is the house of the subconscious mind. That is working not natural opposition to the 6th house, right? Which is where the sun is hanging for you guys right now. The 6th house has to do with mental, physical, emotional health, and it also rules your day-to-day experience, your day-to-day work environment. Also rules your small pets, okay? So we have the sextiling Uranus in the 10th. 10th house has to do with career, marriage, public reputation, your standing in the world. Trining Neptune in the 8th. 8th house has to do with intimacy, how we show up as we, our partner's money, money that we get from other ways. So inheritance, insurance payouts, any sort of legal settlement, anything like that, like a settlement, anything like that. Deep intimacy, again, not sure if I said that, but again, it is how we show up as a we in relationship. And we have also the squaring Chiron Mars in the 9th, quincunxing Venus in the 5th. So there's going to be this hard look at your belief system, Leo, no question, right? In a really good way, though, because we have Chiron, the wounded healer, with Mars squaring this full moon, saying you have to look at your belief system, Leo. What needs to be updated, what needs to be released, what needs to be let go of, and especially surrounding romance, Leo, right? Because we have this quincunxing Venus in the 5th house. 5th house has to do with love affairs, falling in love, how we connect with our partner on a Monday through Sunday. It's our creativity, it's our children, it's our entrepreneurial efforts. Okay. And so something needs to be looked at. This is going to only pertain to a small few of you, but for those of you being challenged with the addiction of gambling, right? And I know that sounds very random, but 5th house is gambling and it's quincunxing the 9th house of belief system. But what's happening here is when we have a quincunx, those two houses that are experiencing the quincunx, they can't ignore the issue anymore. Something needs to be resolved and changed to be healed. Okay, so you get that? So something needs to be, that's gambling is fifth house. Something needs to be resolved and changed, having to do with the relationship with your children or with some sort of love affair that you're involved in, some sort of romantic venture that you're involved in, your creativity, your entrepreneurial efforts, anything like that. There's got to be healing here, right? There's got to be this communication, and it will be communication because Mercury is so positively aspected with Venus, which is just lovely for communication. So even though you're going to feel the tension, there's so much support surrounding the tension that I feel like it's a lot of problem solving. And there's going to be this releasing of digging our heels in. I mean, I kind of feel like that for everybody, but there is definitely going to be this releasing of this digging the heels in. Now, I do want to say this sextile, this Uranus sextile in the 10th, this could be suddenly something fabulous surprise having to do with work. Fabulous all of a sudden, you're getting married. Somebody asks you to get married. Suddenly, you're in a very unhappy situation, like in a marriage, and somebody agrees to give you a divorce. It could be this like this shocking surprise. And for those of you in that space, because it's trining Neptune in the 7th, which does rule marriage, do yourself a favor and cut yourself a big fat break. If you're like, oh my gosh, I really wanted this to end, but now I'm feeling like confused out of nowhere. I'm not sure now if I actually want, I thought I wanted it. I'm not sure. Don't worry about it. That's just Neptune. Neptune's so confusing. It really is. It's like one minute we're feeling all kinds of like in our feels, loving, empathetic, and everything. And then we're feeling like a victim. And then we're feeling confused. And then we don't want it. And then we're feeling like, oh, wait, no, wait. So just cut yourself a break if you are feeling anything like that, Leo, okay? Especially Leo risings, but also Leo sun and moon, but to a little bit of a lesser degree. Okay, so let's go on to Virgo. Virgo, we have the Cancer full moon happening in your 11th house. That's where the sun is shining from the 5th house, right? So the 11th house is the house of gains, your goals, your friends, people you associate with. It really is, to me, it's more like your goals and wishes, right? And everything else is sort of tangential to that. I always kind of view it like that. Now, where's the sun shining opposite? What's the opposition? Is that 5th house, 5th house of romance, falling in love, your creativity, entrepreneurial effort. So especially Virgo, just because, I mean, I'm just saying this because you guys just have so much going on in your 6th house, like especially the next 2 years unfolding. So this is where I feel like for you guys, there's a real kickoff at the end of this month going into 2021, because we have this full moon shining on what do you really want to do? What's your goal, Virgo? Like, what is your goal? Where do you want to go? What do you want to do? Right. And so you can't escape it. It's kind of like it's just going to be so glaring that you're going to feel naturally like, all right, I'm ready to like put my ducks in a row. A lot of you guys have probably sort of been doing it, but the clarity hasn't been there. There's going to finally start to be a lot of clarity. Now, we do have this sextile and this trine, these two positive energies going on at the same time. Sextile, Uranus, 9th house. Trine Neptune in the 7th house. Okay, so we like these energies because these bring us harmonious energy flow. Uranus is all about shocking surprises, and it's something that's coming in that is going to help bring us into our future. All right. Now, this is happening in the 9th house. So this could have to do with higher education. This could have to do with maybe moving, dealing with people from a foreign land, a foreign country, going on a long trip for some, that somehow feeds into this. This could also just simply have to do with your belief system, where you realize your moral code and your moral compass and what it is that you actually want for yourself have changed or are changing right now. You actively feel this release of stuff and then like this new information coming in that you really resonate with. So really, really nice. Now it's trining Neptune, which is all about fogginess and lack of clarity, but it's also empathy. It's also empathy. And it's, Neptune's a beautiful energy. It can be very challenging with relationships, though. And to have the Neptune in the seventh, which represents marriage partnerships, it's the house of partnership. So, marriage partnership, business partnership, anyone, I always say anyone we have a shared soul connection with, so even a close family member, close friend. So, you can be experiencing this Neptunian fog, right? However, there's going to be this square to Venus going on in the fourth, which is of home, right? It's the Cancer energy there. So, why do I think this is good? I think squares are good sometimes because without squares, we would never grow. Without squares, we would never evolve. Something's going on in the area of home, Virgo. So, maybe it's like you want to buy a home, you want to sell a home, you're moving, you're working from home. So, there is this energy where, um, believe me when I tell you, many things can be true at once. For some of you, this might be a situation where there's tension regarding a home situation having to do with your marriage. And the situation that's going on, as far as you putting your ducks in a row for a career, is kind of separate, even though everything is interwound. I hope that makes sense. But now we also have this square with Chiron and Mars in the eighth. And that's quincunxing Venus in the fourth. Why do I like squares and quincunxes? Because with these energies, you have to, it's not like a sessy square and a semi-square where it's easy to ignore. You might feel the tension, but you can ignore it. You could be like, I'll deal with that later, or maybe not. Right. But when we're dealing with the quincunx, you can't. You have to make a decision. So something's going to be rising to the surface. So you have to make a decision. And it's a decision that I think is going to go well for you, regardless of how it ends up. Because of Venus's connection with Mercury in here, I see there being a lot of really good conversations. Now, where is the tension going to be? In that eighth house. And that eighth house, again, is how we show up as a we. It's our partner's money. It's your money with your partner's money. How do we show up as a we? It's intimacy. It's communication. It's with we. For those of you who don't resonate with it, as far as it being relationship, that eighth house is also money that we get from other sources, be it the stock market. The eighth house rules the stock market. It rules the investments, insurance payouts, lawsuit settlements, anything like that. Okay. Again, it is finances that we get from other people, but it's so much more than that. But this is where the tension's going to be hanging, right? So so it's between that and the fourth house of home. So maybe you guys are in this space, Virgo, where it's like you want to buy a home with a partner, but like whose finances are what right now? Is that a thing? Is that an issue? This could also have to do with eighth house, could have to do with a divorce settlement. Fourth house has to do with home. So maybe if you guys are getting divorced, there's this, legal, goings on, right? That has to sort of run its course, having to do with settling that. While at the same time, many of you may be also sort of getting your ducks in a row for your career, right? So there are different ways that this can end up rolling out. But what I see from a very like sitting back and looking at these energies holistically, what I see is that there's going to be a change in your goals because if there's a beautiful shift happening, and I do think it's beautiful because it's going to be very communicative happening, not only in your relationships, but also how you handle your career. You're shifting big time this right now. You really are. So this is going to be really, really good for you right now. Sorry. My husband just came in and he said, hello, doesn't hear me on the video. He used to come in and wave. Good guy though, I'm not complaining. So Virgos, that's what we have for you guys going on right now. Okay, so definitely changes in the overall trajectory. I see this is where the beginnings of some really good stuff happening for your career and the ironing out of stuff in relationships. For good or bad, however you're going to look at it, it's going to end up good and it's going to be softened as you're going through it. So on to Libra. Libra, we have this Cancer full moon happening in your 10th house with the natural opposition coming from the 4th house of home. So something is going to be rising to the top having to do with either your career or your public reputation, which would mean the institution of marriage. So some of you may be, and because it's, the light is coming from the fourth house of home, may be realizing that a certain relationship has reached its expiration date for some of you, if it has to do with marriage. Others of you, you may be realizing that you just don't feel at home in your career anymore and you want to make a change. It's this realization of something in the 10th house, right? So we have this now, we just say we have the sextile and trine, two really positive energies happening. So let's talk about how those are going to be impacting you. So the sextile is with Uranus, and Uranus is going to be in the 8th house for you guys. Okay. So the 8th house has to do with any sort of lawsuit, any sort of insurance payout, inheritance, anything like that. But it's also other people's money, especially our partner's money. And it's also intimacy, how we show up as a we in relationship. So there's going to be this now, because it's sextiling Uranus, what it tells me here is there's going to be some sort of surprise that happens in that 8th house energy. So that could be a surprise finalization of a lawsuit. A surprise, somebody wanting to cancel a divorce from moving forward, cancel a lawsuit, finishing a lawsuit, again, out of nowhere, somebody coming in and professing their undying love and apologizing for maybe being very maybe stingy with their money, or wanting to be more, more giving, because this is a positive gift, because it's a sextile and it's that 8th house. So really kind of really good. Particularly especially for those of you who are in business partnership, I love this dynamic, because the gift is coming from the 8th house, which could definitely be business partnerships, and the 10th house of career. So that's how it could be for many of you. We also have this nice trine with Neptune. So Neptune is very foggy, right? Foggy, foggy, foggy. But Neptune can be a real son of a gun when it comes to relationships. So when it comes to creativity, it'd be really, really helpful. So Neptune in the 6th, because the 6th is your day-to-day work environment, this can really be inciting, Libra, so much beautiful creativity for you. Maybe you guys are in something already that's very creative as your day-to-day job, right? Could definitely be that. Now, I feel like you're going to be pushed to make changes, though. If it's not you being creative in your day-to-day work environment, it's you being pushed to ask the big questions about how you feel about being in a relationship or in that job or that fill in the blank in your day to day. Let me explain. The 6th house is your day to day experience. It's your day to day. It's your day to day work. It's your day to day. I get up, I put my feet on the floor and brush my teeth. Okay. It's also your mental, physical, and emotional health. Again, it's also your small pets. Keep that in mind as a little sidebar, right? So we have Neptune trining in there. So some of you might be experiencing something a little off going on with your pets, and you're trying to figure it out. You go to the doctor, it ends up being fine, right? But you're going to be pushed to look at it, because we have the square with Venus in the 3rd. And because of the positioning with Mercury, we're going to want to communicate about things that we're not really clear on that are going on in the 6th house, whether it's what's going on in our day-to-day work environment. Why do we feel good, bad, or indifferent in that relationship, in that job, whatever it is? Why do we feel the way we do? I'm really looking at it. Now, to have this Chiron and Mars squaring in the 7th house of marriage, quincunxing Venus in the 3rd, this is what I'm telling you right now. There's going to be conversations that are going on about this partnership in your life. Anything that's 7th house. And again, it does not have to be, not all of you are married, right? Not all of you have a business partnership. This could even be something going on within a very close family connection or friendship connection, but there's an important conversation that has to happen with you, Libra, you and someone else. It needs to be addressed already. The can has been kicked down the road as far as it can go, can't go any further. And now you have so much beautiful energy supporting figuring something out, sitting down and finding healing, whether it's to make something better, what needs to be done, or to resolve something because it's reached its expiration date. And everybody realizing that they were hanging on for all the wrong reasons. And there's something very healing about that, for sure, for sure. So very healing. Okay, on to our Scorpio friends. Scorpio, this Cancer full moon is happening in your 9th house. Okay, and the light is coming from the third house, from the sun, is the natural opposition here. So the ninth house has to do with higher education, foreign travel, um, your belief system, your moral code, your moral compass. It's the law. To, what's right and wrong. It really is about like what's right and wrong, and you being really tuned into what's right and wrong. Like and because it's the third house has to do with communication, it has to do with your neighborhood, it has to do with siblings. So something may be all of a sudden really obvious to you about one of your siblings, or something that's going on with one of your siblings, and there's this communication that you come to see things differently between you and one of your siblings. Okay, now the fact that we have, now that could be for some of you. Now we have two very positive energies working with this full moon. We have a sextile, Uranus sextile, coming from the seventh house, and then we have this trine with Neptune. This full moon is going to be trining Neptune in the fifth. It's going to be squaring Venus in the second. So let's talk about what this is. I don't not like squares. And I hope you guys feel the same way, because if we didn't have squares and quincunxes in our life, then we would never grow. We would just hang around and just be status quo. We need a little tension to create change, right? So the nice easy energy, right? We're going to be getting, you guys, not we, I'm not Scorpio, but the easy energy, the sextile Uranus energy from the seventh, you're going to be getting, this gift is going to be coming in from your marriage, or from a business partnership, or from this really very close connection that you have, Scorpio. It's beautiful, right? Because that's where the gift is coming, and it's going to be surprising to you. You might be sort of feeling it, but you didn't think it was possible. So it's like a healing kind of surprise, because it's a sextile. Now the trine is also a very harmonious energy too. Neptune's a very empathetic energy. It wants to be helpful, but it's also very dreamy and confusing at the same time. And this is in your fifth house of creativity, of children, of falling in love, romance, all of that. So for those of you who've been in a long term relationship, and so a number of things can be true at once, right? Things might be really going really quite well, or leveling up in this energy, having to either do with relationship or your business connections, your family connections, but you might be a little confused about something going on with your children, right? Something with you, even if you're grown kids, right? They could be, your kids might be, you might be experiencing Scorpio, your children may be very confused about some sort of very pressing issue in their life, and it may have something to do with money in connection to um, romance, right? Having to do with the two, right? So that's going to be for some of you, okay? But the square with Venus in the second, quincunxing Venus in the second, what I feel like is there's going to be something that's going to be looked at having to do with resources in your life, Scorpio. Your resources, and it could be compared to like your partner's resources, trying to figure something out to in an attempt to level up relationship. Now, for a lot of you, because we have this Chiron Mars square happening in the sixth house, which is your day-to-day work environment, and it's quincunxing Venus in the second, some of you, a couple of things can be true once again. Some of you may be taking on some sort of work opportunity where you might be in the space of realizing you might need to put your own money in some sort of investment, or if you want something to happen, you may need to pay it out. Maybe you're realizing that you're going to be responsible for making something happen. That's how it could end up for many of you, if it has to do with the work situation. But overall, I see it as being very beautiful for any kind of partnership that you have going on. Mercury is going to be very positively aspected with this Venus. Even though Venus is square and quincunx, Venus is still a softer energy. And this beautiful aspect with Mars is just going to be really good communication. Hopefully, if everybody is open-minded, and isn't digging their heels in too much. But I also see a lot of you guys realizing something about siblings or your neighborhood, maybe where you live. Um, Yeah, having some sort of realization about that. Okay, on to Sagittarius. So Sagittarius, the Cancer full moon is going to be happening in your eighth house. So so the light is going to be coming in from your second house of resources. So eighth house has to do with other people's money. It's where you show up as a we in relationship. It's where it does rule your partner's money, intimacy with a partner, how you guys communicate, again, how you show up as a we. But it also has to do with insurance payouts. It has to do with inheritances, the stock market, money from any sort of investment, anything like that. So there's going to be a lot of focus on this area right now, money from others. So maybe that would even be money from the government, anything like that. But it's the light is coming from your second house of things that you personally value, money that you make, right? And so there's this culmination of the eighth. So there could be this payout of you may have to end up paying something out as far as an insurance payout or settling or something like that within having to do with maybe a marriage or a business partnership or something like that. Now, we do have some softening elements going on here to help out. We have a sextile and we have a trine. So the sextile is this full moon is sextiling Uranus in the sixth house. And I really like this because Uranus is all about shocking surprises. And the sixth house has to do with your day-to-day work environment. So something's happening in this full moon where you're going to be given a very positive, surprising gift from your sixth house of either day-to-day work, could be like a sudden change in work. You suddenly get a new job. Or this sextile in Uranus is also because it's Uranus is a gift and a change and a shocking surprise. And sixth house is also your mental, physical, and emotional health. Those of you who have maybe been nursing some sort of physical issue, mental issue, anything like that, finding out some really good news in that way, finding out that if one of your pets have been sick, things are going to be fine, something like that, right? Because it's all sixth house stuff. Now, this is going to be trining Neptune in the fourth. Now, trining means harmonizing, okay? Neptune in the fourth house is about home. So, and Neptune is a confusing energy, though. It's kind of trying to navigate reality through a very thick fog, right? But it's a kind energy, but you can't totally trust it. And it's squaring Venus in the first. So what does that mean? Sagittarius, you may be in a space where you're just not sure about your home life. You're just not sure. But you're going to be pushed to look at it because we have this Chiron and Mars squaring this full moon in the fifth house with Venus in the first. Fifth house is creativity, love, things that you do because you love to do them. What do you really want? That's fifth house. That's Leo, right? It's that fifth house energy. What do you really want? And it's going to be like, Sagittarius, what do you really want? Especially you guys are the south node of the moon right now. So it's really going to be kicking off these very big, very important questions that you guys need to very much be asking yourselves. What needs to be released? What needs to be released? That relationship, that, settle up that lawsuit once and for all, get rid of that business partnership, level yourself up, having to do with work, get in touch, really get ahead of your health right now, whatever it is. But that's where I see it hitting you guys the most, right? I mean, because the full moon is happening in that eighth house, right? That I initially mentioned. Okay, on to our Capricorn friends. So we're going to focus on the full moon energy first, which is happening in your seventh house. So it's happening in your seventh house. So the opposing sun is illuminating from the first house of self. Something's reaching a point that needs addressing in that seventh house of either marriage, partnership, or that very close friend or family connection, because that seventh house is that it's Libra, it's all kinds of partnerships, but ones that we have to have a shared soul connection with. Now we do have some nice harmonizing other energies that are going on and a little bit of tension, which we need a little bit of tension, always do, right? A little bit in order to grow and look at things and question things. But we have this sextile and this trine going on. So the sextile is going to be with Uranus in your fifth house. So good if you guys are looking for a new romance, meet somebody new, because Uranus is all about surprise and the sextile is a really nice energy coming together. They're being in ease. So it's like some of you guys, Capricorn, you might be meeting somebody and you're just like, yeah, this feels really great. This feels like I like we'll cut from the same cloth because there's an ease about the sextile, right? Or maybe you start a new hobby, or you start with this creative project, or all of a sudden you decide to take a hobby and you make a decision to try to make money with it. And it's like but the pieces fall into place almost like just so serendipitously. So certain, and you guys deserve it, right? I mean, you guys have been through stuff. So very, very beautiful. I really like that this sextile in your fifth house. Something surprising might be coming up with your children. So, like your children might be surprising you with some good news. And I'm saying good news because it's a sextile. So I do like it. Now let's talk about the trine. Trine with this full moon is going to be trining Neptune in the third. Okay. So Neptune, I always say, is like trying to look at reality through a dirty window. Neptune's like smoke and mirrors, rules Pisces in that 12th. Pisces is a tricky energy. I love Neptune rather. I love Neptune having to do with everything except relationships. And so for that reason, I'm going to say, I kind of think it's going to be very positive for you guys because Neptune's very creative and very, creative, intuitive, really, really great. So we have this trine with Neptune in the third, which has to do with communication, your siblings, your neighborhood. So for some of you, you may be in this glorious communication with somebody new who you met online. You might not be totally clear where it's going, but it feels good, right? But that's not going to be enough for you, right? Because it is squaring Venus in the 12th. And Neptune rules the 12th. So if you don't feel like you completely are clear, you're going to be pushed to gain clarity, and you're going to be able to. You're going to have the important conversations that you need to have just because of how positively Mercury is aspecting Venus. So I do like this. So that's for many of you. Now we do have this Chiron Mars squaring the full moon in the fourth house. At the same time, it's going to be quincunxing Venus in the 12th. Okay. Why do I like squares and quincunx? Why do I like quincunx? The same reason I like squares. You need to have some tension. Now, a square is tension, but the quincunx is the tension's there and you can't ignore it, my friend. You can't do it. You can't kick it to the curb. You can't say, I'll deal with it next Tuesday. You can't do anything like that. You have to look at it. So we have this happening, right? It's like between the fourth house of home. What makes you feel grounded, rooted, safe, and secure? Where do you live? Physical home, people you live in the home with, all of that I always talk about the fourth house means. And this 12th house having to do with what do you really want, Capricorn? What do you dream of? Because that's 12th house is what are you dreaming of? What do you really want in your subconscious? I'm not talking about what sounds good on paper, yada, yada, yada. That's more 11th house stuff. 12th house is subconscious stuff. What are you feeling? What do you want? What do you want? I'm really getting in touch with that. So I think this is very, very good because I feel like for so many of you, there's just going to be this precipice coming to the edge kind of energy that you guys are going to be experiencing that I think is going to end up going really, really well for you because of the sextile, of the trine. Even though Venus is quincunxing and squaring, it's in beautiful harmony with Mercury. So what do you need to talk about? You're going to be able to do it and it's going to go well. Okay, Capricorn, that's what we have for you for the end of the month. Let's go on to our Aquarius friends. Aquarius, you have the Cancer full moon in your sixth house. So that natural opposition is going to be coming from the 12th house of your subconscious mind. The sixth house, though, where the full moon is happening is in your day-to-day work environment, your day-to-day experience, your mental, physical, and emotional health. It also has something to do with your pets. And that's going to resonate with a choice few of you, but that's that sixth house is a great, and you know what I like about the sixth house too? It's where we solve our problems, right? Because the sixth house, a natural landlord of the sixth house is Virgo, and Virgo is the hermit energy, and in tarot, and it's where we go to gain our, deep introspection and spiritual illumination. So there's a lot of it's and Virgo is the problem solver of the zodiac. So what I like about this is there's going to be a lot of light focused on s- uh solving problems that are going on in your life right now, and you're going to have a lot of support to do this. So we have a sextile and we have a trine going on. The sextile, the full moon is sextile Uranus in your fourth house of home. So that tells me you're going to have some sort of really positive surprise coming from your home space. So maybe if you still live at home, you're finding out that you're moving, or somebody is moving in, or somebody's moving out, but it's a positive thing, or you're buying a new home, or there's some sort of relocation happening here, but it's positive, right? Because it's a sextile, so it's a positive surprise that's coming in. Now the trine is happening, the full moon is trining Neptune in the second house, which is finances, things that you value, your self-esteem. But Neptune, I love Neptune when it doesn't have to do directly with like relationships. I love that when it has to do with things like second house, because that's like where we make our money, right? And Neptune is very creative. So I feel like a lot of you Aquarians are just going to be like amping with the creativity right now. And what I like here, are you going to laugh? Like it's squaring Venus in your 11th house of gains, goals, and wishes. And you say, Jackie, why is a square positive? Because sometimes we need a little pressure to push us up, to say, come on, let's go. Make the decision, make the phone call, put in the application, pull the trigger, stop saying no, stop saying you can't do, stop saying it doesn't make sense anymore, and embrace whatever it is that you're thinking about, because something is on your mind, Aquarius, about what you really want to do as far as moving forward in your overall goals. Now, we do have this full moon is squaring Chiron and Mars in the third, and it's quincunxing Venus in the 11th. So I'm not mad at this, because even though you have this, first of all, Chiron is the wound, it's all about healing. And Mars is Mars is obsessed with making sure we're on our right path. It's like, that's why Mars in tarot is the tower. It's not serving you anymore. It's got to go, Joe. It's that kind of thing. So there's going to be a lot of pulling you away very actively from a path that you are not meant to be on, but you may not be fully sure where you're supposed to go. Go with it. Go with it. Make sure there's a lot of communication, though, that's going on. And there's got to be something done right now, though, Aquarius, because with this quincunx with Venus in the 11th, remember, the quincunx, you can't ignore it. You got to look at it. You could not only look at it, you have to fix it. You got to deal with it. You have to take real life change. So if you are in a career, studying something, if you are in a place in your life, Aquarius, where it is not speaking to you, this is the time to make the changes. It really is. You're so supported. Oh my gosh. So nothing to be afraid of. Really good energy. Okay. So finally, let's go on to our Pisces friends. Last but not least, our fishies. So this Cancer full moon is happening in your fifth house of romance, Pisces, and the light is coming from the 11th house. Okay. That natural opposition from the sun. So what this tells me is romance is going to be focused for you right now in this full moon, falling in love. And some of you are like, no, no, that's not me. Well, it has to do with your creativity. It has to do with your children. It has to do with what you love to do because you love to do it. Maybe you're deciding to start your own business. It's anything that you can create, okay? That's fifth house energy. It's also really focusing on you and what it is that you really want, Pisces. What do you want? You guys are such a giving energy. What about Pisces now? It's really time to focus on you, not in a selfish way, but to just really honor where you're being called to right now. Now, let's talk about a couple of positive energies that are going on to support you through this. We have a sextile and we have a trine. The sextile, this full moon is going to be sextiling Uranus in your third house of communication, of your neighborhood, short distance travel, all kinds of communication online. And this is where a surprise is going to come in. So you might be getting some very nice surprising news online perhaps introducing you to a new romance. It could be that. For some of you, making a connection online where um, it's going to be supportive of your career, right? Because again, fifth house could be like entrepreneurial. So maybe you're an investor, or you're trying to rent something, sell something, whatever it is. You're going to make a connection with somebody online and they're going to offer you something. It's like this gift coming in this way. Third house could also be siblings. So something surprising happening with one of your siblings that are really, it's really gonna speak to your creativity. Maybe one of your siblings is introducing you to somebody new to date, or maybe somebody from your neighborhood is gonna be introducing you to somebody to date. You might be meeting somebody new in your neighborhood to date as well, somebody local, maybe somebody you've known for a while and you're seeing them in a different light. And we also have this trine with to Neptune, full moon trining to Neptune in the first house of self. So Neptune is all about, you guys know Neptune, it's your ruler. I mean, Neptune's a beautiful energy. It's very creative and everything, but it's also very like smoke and mirrors, very sort of foggy. It's very hard to be totally clear on wherever Neptune is. We might feel very creative and we might feel very loving, but we might still at the same time, because many things could be true at once, feel kind of unclear about what we're feeling, right? And because it's squaring Venus in the 10th house, that has to do with your public reputation and as well as your career. So, you might be getting this offer online that has to do with like a new career opportunity, a new career situation, something like that. And you just might be like, I'm not sure, but it's such a gift. It's very positive coming in. Pisces, some of you might be even like, wait a minute, maybe I think I want to marry this person. Or, you asking somebody or somebody asking you, because the 10th house also has to do with our public reputation. So it does indicate the institution of marriage as well. Now, at the same time, we have this full moon squaring Chiron and Mars in your second and quincunxing Venus in your 10th. And I like squares and quincunx because it incites change. It makes us feel just uncomfortable enough for us to have to do something, especially a quincunx, right? Something has to be done here. So the fact that it's quincunxing Venus in your 10th house and it's Venus in the 10th, you know, Mars in this, the Chiron and Mars in the second, it tells me that there needs to be some sort of healing having to do with either your finances or having to do with second house is finances, but it's anything that you value. It's the food you put in your mouth, it's the roof over your head, it's anything that really matters to you. And it's what you make, right? It's what you make. So there might be some tension here about money. There might be some tension here that needs to be looked at. Now, having the quincunx with Venus in the 10th house, something needs to be looked at in career, Pisces, regardless of what's going on with with your personal life. Something needs to be looked at. Now, for some of you, if that 10th house energy resonates as it being a marriage, and we have this square Chiron and Mars in the second house, it's going to be this sort of discussion, and there will be healthy discussion because Mercury is very positively aspected here about money regarding getting married and moving forward together. Where are you going to live and all of that, so for some of you it can be that. Some of you may actually be moving. We do have the Uranus in the third house, surprise, new neighborhood. It could certainly be that, anything like that. But I what I like about this is that I feel like for Pisces, that having the full moon in the fifth is such a big energy. I mean, again, it has to do with anything that you create, having to do with either your children, a business, a love affair, anything like that. I love that it's going to be so focused for you guys because it's such a me energy. And again, not in a selfish way, but you're really going to be checking off the boxes, Pisces, in a very supported way to make sure that whatever you're in, or whatever you're getting into right now, resonates with you. Because if it doesn't, it's gonna feel very, very easy and natural for you to transition out of something. So my friends, that is what I have for all 12 signs. I hope this was helpful in some way. Thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you guys next time. And happy holidays to all of you, for those of you who celebrate. You guys take care. Bye-bye.